Welcome to the Forever Cash Life Real Estate Investing Podcast with your hosts, Jack and Michelle Bosch. Together, let's uncover the secrets to building true wealth through real estate and living a purpose-driven life.
Super excited to be here and doing another teaching session. As you guys know, every Wednesday at 10 a.m. Pacific, I'm coming live and teaching you guys some stuff around a specific subject around our land flipping, our land profit generator, real estate land flipping techniques. All right, so today we are going to talk about seller financing and how you can get seller financing deals done without using any of your own money. So seller financing is one of our favorite ways, or also called owner carryback, also called a seller carryback. Basically, it means, also called installment contract, basically means that you allow somebody, you have a property, let's say it's worth $50,000, you put it on a contract for $7,000, you are now selling this property, and you have two choices on how to sell this property. I mean, you have many choices, but the choices we like to do is one of two choices. Choice number one is sell that property at a discount, let's say of a 60% of market value. So basically for $30,000 for cash, and you sell it for cash. And good morning, everyone. Good morning, Jonathan. And guys, let me hear you. Let me see where you are, and so on. So you have two choices. You have number one, you sell this property for $30,000, which is 60% of market value, for cash. Somebody says like, oh my God, that's a no-brainer. It's a $50,000 property. I can get it at 60%, at 40% below market. They pay you $30,000 cash. You bought it for what did I say? You bought it for $7,000. So you're now getting a $23,000 profit, perhaps $22,000 after closing costs. Boom, success, move on, fantastic, next deal happening. Second kind of thing that you can do is you can also sell this property via what's called seller financing, owner carryback. In that case, you have it under contract for $7,000. You go sell it to somebody for no longer $30,000. There's no reason that you need to discount the sale of a property with seller financing. Like when you sell a property such that you allow them to do a down payment and then make monthly payments, the deal here, the attractiveness of that deal is in the fact that you allow them to do a low down payment and a low monthly payment. So this is therefore much more affordable for many people. So, and because of that, you don't have to actually discount the price anymore. So in other words, you take that $50,000 property and you sell it at $50,000, or perhaps you give them a slight discount. You sell it for $45,000. So you sell it at $45,000, and what you're asking for is anywhere between, let's say, a 15 and 20% down payment. So in this case, a 15% down payment would equal about $7,000, and a 20% down payment would equal about a $9,000 down payment. Now this is important to actually structure it such that the down payment is equal or more than what you actually need to pay for the property. Because in this scenario now, you have a property under contract for $7,000, you're getting a $9,000 down payment. The $9,000 is enough for you to pay the seller $7,000, pay the closing cost, perhaps put $500 in your own pocket, and then have monthly cash flow coming towards you, literally without taking any money, putting any money into the deal. So let me explain it again. The way we like to structure our seller financing deals, ideally, is such that we sell a property close to market value with a down payment that is large enough to pay for what you have promised the seller for the property. So let's do another example with, that we have done many, many times. $30,000 property, we put it on a contract for $3,000. We go and put it on the market for $30,000 and we get a $5,000 down payment. That is enough money to do basically a double closing. That is enough money to give now both contracts to the title company and say, hey, title company, I want to buy this property for $3,000 and I want to sell it, and I'm selling it for $30,000 with a $5,000 down payment. Please use the $5,000 from the buyer to pay everyone in the transaction. So the title company might charge you $1,000 in closing costs and perhaps another $1,000 on the sales side. So the closing cost might be $2,000. So the title company takes the $5,000, sends $3,000 to the seller, keeps $2,000 for their closing costs. So you have not made any money here yet, but you also have not spent any money. And now the seller, but what you have received is a $25,000 note, a $25,000 mortgage that you own. And keep in mind, the roles are reversed than they usually are. Usually you are the one paying. Now you are the bank. You own that note and you allow the buyer to pay you on that note. So the $25,000 note, let's say, is being paid with $400 a month for the next 8 to 10 years. So for the next 8 to 10 years, you now receive $400 a month, but you have spent zero in the deal. So you got to buy the property, you got to sell the property the same day with no money out of your pocket, and now you receive $400 a month. How would you like to create a cash flow of $400 a month out of thin air, literally, out of the creativity and the knowledge of being able to do this? That's what allowed you to do that. So if they say you need money to make money, it's bullshit. It's not true. You need knowledge and creativity to be able to make money. Right? You need skills, you need experience, you need education to make money. You don't need money to make money, right? And yes, education sometimes costs money, that's true, but then you're investing in yourself. You're investing in the expansion of your brain. You're investing in the expansion of your leadership. You're investing in the expansion of your ability to make money without money. And that's the best investment that you can do in the world, the investment in yourself, right? Don't buy a new car. Invest in yourself, because with the investment in yourself and the action that you take, you can buy any car in the world that you want. Right, so that's the thing. And actually, I love this. Naveen says here, hi Jack, I'm happy to say that we just double closed on a seller financing deal with $1,200 a month for 10 years. Bought the lot for $62,000 and sold it for $126,900 with down payment of $25,000. We did have to put some money in though. Yes, Naveen. So Naveen has a great example here. That's the other way you can do seller financing deals, but it's not the ideal way. But Naveen is a smart man. Naveen has done a bunch of cash deals first. And he said, no, he's been doing our business for a while, so has been doing a cash deals for a while. He has built up 6 figures in cash to I assume, I don't know for sure, but let's assume he has built 6 figures up in cash. So now he's using some of the cash that he made with cash deals, and he's inserting them into a cash flow deal that pays him $1,200 a month, which is $14,400 a year. And he has basically bought it for 62. 62 minus 25 is 42, is 38. So he had to put $38,000 into the deal, perhaps with closing costs, let's say $40,000 into the deal. But now he's getting $14,000 out of that deal every single year. That means he's making a 25% return on his money, and that beats the bank. I mean, you can have $40,000 sit in the bank and it makes nothing for you, like a 0.25% or so. Or you can put in a deal like that and now make a 25% annual return on that. That is a fantastic deal. That is congratulations. So the thing is, let's actually bring a deal like Naveen's up. There's a third way that you can do a deal, and that gets a little more complicated. So first way that you do a deal is by structuring it such that the down payment is higher than what you pay for the property. So if you do that, and Naveen says, yes, we did use cash generated from other cash deals. Exactly. So you're using this business to feed the seller financing deals and to build these 4-figure $1,200 monthly checks. Absolutely fantastic. That is textbook following our method. Congratulations, Naveen. Absolutely love it. So with that said, and that's, by the way, if you're listening to this, in our podcast, this video is generated by doing our weekly Wednesday inside of our Facebook group. You can go to landprofitmaster.com, register for it. You're going to be in one of our Facebook groups. You can go also to landprofitfund.com, which brings you to some of our educational platform and other things. But the point is, we can get... We're doing this inside our Facebook group, but I'm also broadcasting it as a podcast. So with that said, so therefore, if you hear me talk about people leaving comments in the podcast, that's why we are doing that. So with that said, guys, this is live right now inside of our Facebook group. So again, guys, so there's multiple ways you can do seller financing deals. The first way you do it is what I just mentioned. You structure it such that the down payment is higher than what you pay for the property to the seller. If that is the case, you can literally do a double closing. You can do a double closing and use the buyer's money to pay to be used to the title for the closing cost and be used to pay the seller, and then you own the property for like a fraction of a second or for like 5 minutes. You own the property, and then you immediately sell the property with seller financing. And if, let's say, we have done deals, for example, where we have gotten a property that we have bought for $1,875. We sold that property for $86,000 with a $17,000 down payment. So what that means is we paid less than $2,000 for that property, $1,875, plus closing costs, perhaps $3,000, and we got a $17,000 down payment. That means we put $14,000 cash into our pocket, and now we sold the property with monthly payments of $870 for the next, 15 or so years, and that is pure cash flow, pure profit. Every single one of these $870 monthly payments is pure profit. So that's what you do that. So now what do you do in a situation where the seller finance, where the down payment is not as high as what you pay, as what you promised the seller you would pay them? Well, in that case, you have two options. One is the option that Naveen did already. Naveen has done a few cash deals already, or quite a few probably. He's been doing this for multiple years already. He has done a bunch of cash deals. So he's taking some of the cash to supplement that deal with. So yes, you have to use some of your own cash. So you do that way. And then you still enjoy the cash flow. The other way that you can do that is, now we're getting into advanced territory, is we add a third variable into this scenario. But to be very, very clear, when you do seller financing, you own the property. You need to own the property. You can't not seller finance the seller's property to the buyer without you owning it first. So you got to own it and you got to sell it. So in that process, you got to spend the money for the property, and then you get the money back as a down payment when you sell it, to be very, very clear, okay? But now, what if you have the following situation? You have a property under contract for $25,000. You sell it for $100,000, but the buyers, any buyer that comes forward, only is a seller financing buyer, and they only want to put down $10,000. Okay, it's a situation, it's an issue. Because if you sell it to them for $100,000, they put down $10,000, you now still need $15,000 extra plus closing costs to actually buy the property. So you're like $16,000 short to make that deal happen. So if you have the $16,000, let's say in your IRA, you can have your self-directed IRA or 401k buy that property, and then the profits and the cash flow goes in your IRA, and it turbo boosts your retirement, right? You can do that. If you don't have an IRA that you can do that with, you just don't have any money in it, then you can borrow the money from a lender, from your uncle or from your cousin or from somebody else. You can borrow the $16,000 in order to make that happen. But then you have to pay them back. So now you're receiving, let's say, if you do that deal at $100,000 deal with $10,000 down payment, means it's a $90,000 note. You probably do that for 20 years at 12% interest. That it still is like an $800 payment for 20 years. So you receive $800 a month now, and of the $800,000 a month, you would have to give a portion to your lender, to the person that lent you the $16,000. So a money partner, a lender, until they are paid off. So if you give them $300 off the $800, you still receive $500 a month, and the lender now receives off his $16,000 that they gave you, they receive $3,600 back. So in other words, even with some interest, that thing is probably paid off in 5 years. So in 5 years, the lender is paid off, and you then continue receiving the full $800 for an extra 15 years. That's a way you can structure it, that you get a money lender to come in. The next level you can do it, if you don't have a money lender, we can add yet one extra level of, not complexity, but of creativity into the deal. And that is that you can add the possibility of selling the note right away. So let's look at this. So what you need to do is a couple of things in parallel. So this is not for the beginners. Don't want to do that in your first deal ever because it requires some coordination. But if you're in the middle of deal number 10 or 15 or something like that, and by the way, give me some feedback here if you're watching this on YouTube or if you're watching this on iTunes, give us a 5-star review. If you're watching this on YouTube, give us some feedback, put some comments in. And if you're watching this live right now outside of our Facebook group, let me know if this is cool stuff. So the way you can do this requires some coordination. But the way is the following way. You put it on a contract with the seller for $25,000. You put it on a contract with the seller for $100,000 with $10,000 down. So what you're creating in the process, nothing has changed so far. What you're creating is a $90,000 note here. So the $90,000 note is a valuable asset. It's a piece of paper that states on it that you own this note, that they owe you $90,000 that is being paid at 12.9% interest for the next 20 years at a monthly payment of $800. Right now, these numbers are estimated. They're not obviously. If you do the math, they might be off by a few dollars. Okay, so don't hold me to the exact numbers, but it's ballpark, right? Based on the experience, these are ballpark numbers. So you notice they're great. So I'm seeing that the Facebook team here that watches it says great stuff. This is awesome, great stuff, wonderful, love this. This is exactly what I love watching. Okay, great. So in this scenario now, what you do is while the deal is still in escrow, right? While the deal is still in escrow, you go either into our Facebook group. There's no solicitation rule and so on, but you can potentially find somebody there if you ask us first if it's allowed. But other than that, you go on networks of on note networks. You just Google note buying United States, right? Note buying networks. And you come up and there's a ton of these networks out there that you can submit a deal to, and then people will give you offers of what they're interested in buying this from. Or you can go into our group and say like, hey, I'm structuring a deal. I need somebody that potentially wants to buy my note. And you can do that. That's okay. That's not a solicitation for anything like that. It's more like, hey, I'm help. We want to help each other close deals. So that would be allowed. So you go into and then you go, and then what's going to happen? You're going to get offers for it. So now so now you have a $90,000 note, which as you know, $15,000 is what you need to cash out the seller. So you have a $75,000 profit margin in that note. So what if somebody now comes and offers you $65,000 for that note? They would just take over that note right on the first day. Now here's the risk. The buyer had not the risk, but what to think about. The buyer of the property, this is still in escrow, right? You have it on a contract with the seller for 25. You have a buyer willing to pay 100. They probably put an escrow deposit down already. The money's out. The deal's going to go through. You're short $15,000 plus closing costs, perhaps $16,000. So you need somebody to give you $16,000 or ideally more, so you can sell that note on the open market. The open market will probably not pay you $90,000 for that note. By the way, Joyce, we're not talking about homes here. We're talking about land. Everything we do in this group is all about land. We don't deal with houses. There's tenants, toilets, termites, roofs, all this kind of crap involved with houses that we don't always deal with. We make the same or better profits with land without having to deal with all the crap that people deal with in houses, okay? So no, we don't deal with houses. We deal with land. When we're using our land profit generator method for that. So with that said, back to the deal now. So the market of note buyers is probably not going to pay you $90,000 for that note because first of all, there's no track record of that note yet, right? There's no history of the note. There's no payment history. We haven't aged the note yet. So but if you have the credit score of the buyer, and if the buyer has very good credit score, then somebody's going to offer you like $80,000 for that note. But if there's not much credit score information, you might have to sell that note at 50-60% of its face value. So let's say you sell that note for $50,000. Would that still be a deal? Yes, because if you sell that note and if you structure it such that on the day of closing, now 3 transactions happen. You're buying the property for $25,000, you're selling it for $100,000, and you're also selling the note for $50,000 or $60,000. Let's say $60,000. You're selling the note for $60,000. So what happens is the note buyer sends in $60,000. The buyer of the property sends in his $10,000. So now the title company has $70,000 in escrow. And now they're taking from the $70,000, they're giving $25,000 to the seller, keeping $2,000 for themselves. So now what's the deal? It's 70,000 minus 25 is 45, minus 2 is 43. You make a $43,000 profit in that scenario, a cash profit, because you're not getting the monthly payments now. You cashed out of the note right the same day that the note was created. That is super advanced stuff, right, guys? That is something you don't want to do in your first deals, but I want you to be aware of the possibility of being able to do that. So again, this is another way that you can do deals without using any money. So we started very simple. The simplest way to do that, you have a deal on the contract. Yesterday, I did in our coaching group, I did a open Q&A session, and one of the students had a deal that he had on a contract for $1,200, and he was selling it for $12,000 or for $13,000. That's a beautiful seller financing deal, because all you need to get as a down payment is like $1,500, and you already got more as a down payment than you even paid for the property. Boom. That's a perfect example for a seller financing deal. You get a down payment that's higher than what you paid for it, and then you get the cash flow. Second scenario, you borrow the money that you need to buy the property, and then you get the cash flow and split the cash flow, give some of it to the person that gave you the money, and keep the rest of it. Third scenario is you do a structure such that you create a note, the seller financing note, and you sell the note immediately the same day that you create it through a basically 3-way transaction. 3 different ways for you to do deals without using any of your money. Again, you don't need money to make money. You need knowledge, you need confidence, you need training, you need accountability, you need somebody to hold you accountable, you need somebody who explains those things to you, you need somebody that guides you through that and solves those things with you and does whatever it takes to help you to be successful. And that's what we want to do for you guys. So with that, that concludes really the session. That concludes this live session. That concludes this podcast. If you want to work with us, if you want to talk to us, go to landprofitmaster.com, join there. Or if you want to talk directly to us, go to landcoaching.com, register for a session with us, talk to our guys, because this is the kind of stuff that our team does all day long, surrounding you with 360-degree support. With that said, okay, bye-bye, everyone. Have a great day. All right, bye-bye.
Enjoyed this episode? Then make sure you like, subscribe, and post your comments and questions below the video. We're looking forward to hearing from you.